Okay, so now we're going to use the steps from the last video to solve a quadratic equation. All right, so we come to our first one here. 1/2 x squared plus 4 equals 24. First thing we want to do is subtract the 4. So then that's going to give us 1/2 x squared equals 20. Okay, now we want to get rid of that 1/2. So we're going to multiply both sides by 2. When it's a fraction, you can multiply by the reciprocal. You can make it 2 over 1 if you want, but 2, it's the same thing. Okay, so then I have x squared equals 40. Now I'm going to use the square root principle. So I'm going to take the square root of both sides plus or minus the square root of 40. All right, we're almost done then. I get x equals plus or minus. Now 40 is 4 times 10, and I can take the square root of 4. 2 times the square root of 10. Now you might be thinking, well, what about that 10? Doesn't that break down? No, because 10 is just 2 times 5, and so you're not going to get any pairs out. You can't take square root of 2 or 5. Okay, so those are the answers. I'm going to write the answers in set notation. I'm going to put -2 square root 10 and +2 square root 10. Now, if you're saying, hey, wait a minute, why isn't there an I? Because 40 was positive, so the radicand was positive. So that's the answer. I'm not going to check them, but there you go. All right, so here's another one. If you want, you could stop the video and see if you know how to do it, or you can just watch. You can always come back and finish the video. All right, get rid of the 2 by adding 2 to both sides. So you're going to have 5x squared equals 36. All right, now we need to divide by 5 because we don't want that coefficient there. We want the coefficient to be 1. So we have x squared equals 36 over 5. All right, so this one's a little bit different. 5 does not go into 36 evenly. I am going to keep it a fraction. Please don't go with a decimal. And then we're going to take the square root of both sides, just like we'd planned. But notice how I've written that square root symbol, that it comes all the way down over that 5. And so we have a situation here where we're going to have to rationalize the denominator. So we're going to have x, we're going to have x equals plus or minus, but then what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply by a 5 here, and I'm going to multiply by a 5 here. Because I've got to get that denominator so that I can take the square root of it. I've got to get it out of the radical. All right, so then that gives me the square root of, I'm not going to multiply 36 times 5 because I like the 36. I'm going to be able to take the square root of that. So, and then 5 times 5 is 25, which I don't even have to really multiply that either, but I did. Okay, so I get x equals plus or minus, and then I'm going to take the square root of the 36, that's going to be 6, times the square root of 5, that's up in the numerator, all over 5 in the denominator. So if they want them listed separately, it's going to look like the opposite of 6 square root 5 over 5, and 6 square root 5 over 5. So that goes back to how we rationalize a denominator. That was in chapter 8. Okay, there we go.